Yeah, that's grade 1 in 1937
In what school?
in Valois Protestant School. We called it Valois Protestant School.
You had to say Protestant, but there were no Catholics
Nobody had.
anyways.
We didn't have to say anything.
Yeah, but when you did say it, you said Valois.
Valois Protestant School.
Is that what's
We
written
were
on the top?
Protestants. Yeah,
That's what's written on the top.
yeah, right.
It's what's
Protestant.
it's engraved on the top
Yeah.
there.
There was only 4 rooms.
Yeah, but but it's interesting you had to say Protestant. I mean, it sounds like it's
We didn't have to say anything. It's just we said it because it was on the building, you
it
know.
was on the building.
And we did go to Sunday school. There's no question. I went to Valois United. Yeah, Machen, Mr. Machen. Well, his daughter was just born. Yeah,
So he came in 1940.
yeah. And he put a boxing rink behind the church, and we used to box him. Yeah, and hammer him.
This is the because they built the second one, I think 53 or something like that. 53.
Yeah, well
54.
that was not my.
You
I
were
was the
original.
old original. Yeah. Same with the tennis club. We used to box there.
Where the boxing ring was, is that more where
It was a garage behind the church.
where the new one is now?
Yeah.
In that location.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't as far out, but it was right against the
The
building.
garage. Oh, just the.
It was
just
a
the
car garage. Yeah.
Yeah,
at the
and it was
back.
in that area where they put the ring.
Yeah. Because boxing was a big thing then. And we had it in the park, you know, and they'd bring kids from Griffintown. And
Why was boxing a big thing? Was
I
it
don't know.
was it the
even in Point Claire Park, you know, we had big boxing events.
You're
There's a
talking
guy
about
there,
the-
Gordy Newhook, got knocked out. In fact, he just passed away. That guy there, Gordy Newhook.
the
in
knockout
Point-
finally got to him
Yeah.
all these years
One of the French guys in, there was terrific competition, you know, in, there wasn't much in my day of French and English. It didn't exist. No.
Well, the village.
Yeah, but they all spoke English and there was no animosity.
So you mean if you were to go to the village, let's say to a store at that time,
You speak English.
and they knew English because they knew a lot of the merchants, not the
Well,
merchants, but a lot of the
The
clientele.
money was English.
The
was-
clientele was coming from Valois or Cedar Park.
Yeah.
Cedar Park would have been English as well.
Yeah, Killarney Gardens was sort of a high end, but it never really took off. Yeah, yeah,
Killarney Gardens is that where they put the park?
yeah.
There's a
Clear
park
Point
there?
Rink. Clear Point Rink is in Killarney Gardens.
And that would have been just east of that quarry you were talking about.
It would be east of the quarry.
Just east of the quarry.
Yeah,
Okay. And that park,
and there was another quarry, DeVito Quarry. DeVito had a smaller quarry. That one we used to swim in because it filled with water when they abandoned it. Yeah.
but the one that's was
The girls knew we were bare buff, so they'd be in the trees
in the trees. The
watching.
girls had to know how to climb trees back then. Do you remember what location in the school this picture was taken in? What part of the outside?
That's a long time ago. I would think it's right in the front, but you don't see any doors, eh? No.
Yeah. So it's got to be one of the sides.
Yeah.
Can you show them which one you
That was the nicest teacher. She's been in my mind all my life. That was Miss Stout.
She's beautiful.
Graduated, yeah. And she married Mr. Kerr. He lived on Prince Edward.
Some
What
kids.
years did you go to Valois? Valois School.
Well, from 1 to 7. And it was four rooms, and one teacher taught, so she'd be teaching 1 and 2. So that's grade 1 and 2 there. That's not just 1. Grade 1 and grade 2. And then Miss Spearman was next, 2 and 3. She was nice. And then Mrs. Harter was 3 and 4, and Johansson, the principal, was one room only. Yeah. Grade 7 was a single room, and Joe was the teacher.
But we're missing some grades. 5 and 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Mrs. Harter.
Right.
Yeah.
And then 7.
Yeah, and then 7 was single. Yeah.
So they were doing 7 at the time, and then you said 8 and 9. You weren't. So high school, even.
We went to Cedar Park, 8 and 9.
But even in Montreal West, did they have 7, 8, 9, or was high
Oh, yeah.
school?
No, they would have had a full, It's just
But
the
they
Lakeshore crowd went there for 10 and 11. Yeah.
For 10 and 11.
Yeah. We went to Cedar Park for 8 and 9. We took the bus from in front of this school to, and they brought us home for lunch and went back again.
Who drove the bus?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Because way back when, I have a testimonial that said Mr. Keene.
Oh, that's even before me. He had a store.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Keene.
The Keene, yeah, but then it went into, it was French-speaking guy. Yeah.
Okay, so Keene. So the story goes is that they had to walk over the tracks to his store. He had a bus, but you're right. The picture looks like it might be from the 20s or something.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then he drove them in.
Yeah.
And then so these kids were excited to know that they were going to get a school in Vawa. So I think it's before they built the school, which it's the
Was
centennial
well,
this year.
beautifully built school. Oh,
Yeah.
well, it still looks today, 100 years old. It looks like they just built it. Yeah,
It's called the type of architecture is rational.
yeah.
It's rationalist architecture.
And
Apparently
the
it was a
the janitor was he used to play. He was quite a good hockey player. The son, but the family they were just lived on the other side of the creek. There was a school, and the creek, which is now covered,
yeah.
and that was the depth of this where we're sitting.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, and we would fish in there, get pike and everything, big long pike. They
But just
spawn.
in the spring.
Yeah, because it was deep enough. There's enough water coming down from the woods, you see, which was up in the heights.
The I have a map. It's just a crudely drawn map of just the area, because there's a guy who's maybe 10 or 12 or 15 years so older than you. He was at the last reunion and he drew a map of where the school was and then where the creek was, and then there was a janitor's house or something maybe that existed
Behind the school?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of his Kenton. Their name was Kenton.
Oh yeah.
They looked after, they were the janitors, and they have a son, Bill Kenton, who
This
took
would be
over.
towards
Right behind the school, right at the back.
Broadview.
It's still there, the house, yeah.
And then at the creek so the creek kind of went into Valwa Park, and then there were these little pedestrian bridges. Do you remember these little?
Yeah, yeah.
They were little bridges.
Fairly big bridges.
Yeah. So
There was one right behind the school, right on the lake side of the school. There was a bridge there to the Kenton's house, and they were real country houses on that side, because there was no street to them, you see. And it ran behind, there was a guy that was quite well known in Valwa. He built the fish hatchery. Roger Bider built the fish hatchery in just down the road here. Bider, but that was the son. Biders were pretty prominent people in the area. They might have been builders. I don't know.
The families were there before you?
Yeah, before my father. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
So you know how many bridges roughly would there have been? There's a couple or a few?
One that I know of, right behind the school.
Because there was someone who lived on Parkdale,
Yeah,
and she said she had to go over a bridge.
yeah. Well, that would
come
be
to
the
the
bridge.
school.
That would be the bridge to go to the school.
So so I guess these
It would be from here to the trees long.
the bridge.
Yeah, yeah. Which was a big bridge in those days. It was high. It was,
It was like a
Yeah.
35, 40 foot.
yeah. Well, cars would drive over it. Yeah.
Oh, I thought so. It wasn't just pedestrian.
No.
for cars,
This was
too?
a car bridge. Yeah, yeah.
Wow. And this is the I guess
It was the only one, and it was behind the school. Yeah.
wow.
Well, the Catholic Church now would be facing that big creek, and our house, I looked onto the Catholic Church out my back window, you see. Yeah.
When did your family move to Point Claire?
They would have moved there in the, I was born in 31, so they would have moved there. My father was born in 1900, and he came here right after the last war, 1914-18. So he came here in the 20s.
From
1920, from Aberdeen, Scotland. And he met my mother here. She was from Glasgow. My grandmother,
Maternal.
yeah, lived 1468 McGill College Avenue.
What
Yeah.
made your father choose Valwa to move to?
The country. He was a paddler. In where Hugginson came from, there was a Valwa boating club.
Yeah. It was.
In fact, it was on Facebook just lately, a plane in the air, and I recognized the building. Yeah.
Oh, is that plane is probably the 1910 air show that happened.
Yeah, well,
It's a plane going over. It's an old picture of an old plane, or is this a modern picture?
it wasn't, I don't even know. It's just I recognized the Valwa Country Club. That's where my father paddled. That's how he came to, he stayed, he stayed at Milroy Avenue.
Yeah. Oh.
At Keen's. It was not Keen's. It was I forget what it was called back then.
Brahms.
Brome's. Yeah.
Brahms.
Yeah. It was a rooming house, so he stayed there.
So who would this rooming house, because of where it was located? It was located for people who were coming in temporarily to just, and they didn't want to rent a.
It was like coming here and renting an apartment
So
for.
someone modest like your dad couldn't afford the Chateau St. Louis.
Oh no way. No, he
the
came
Maples.
here with nothing. Yeah.
So this would have been like a what do you call it?
He worked
today?
for the Bell Telephone.
Today you call it a hostel, like a hostel kind of place.
Yeah,
Where you're just given a bed.
Well,
really,
my friend Don Gauguin, who just passed away.
Yeah. What was his
He
relation to
grew
the-
up with us. His father bought Brome's, and it was called the Blue Moon.
Did you say in an interview that that location, that's where the Green Hornet ended up being?
Yeah. No, the Green Hornet's on the other corner. Brome's on this corner. Brome's was right in front of the Valwa Boating Club, and the Valwa
Country Club.
Country Club. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Green Hornet was on the corner of Milroy and Lakeshore.
Okay, so this is it. This must be it here, because on the bottom there you see, it's written, Brome's Corner. Valwa.
Yeah. Yeah, well, my Don Gauguin's father bought it, and he changed it to the Blue Moon. And that was the hangout for us in my day.
What was the Blue Moon?
It was Brome's restaurant.
But did they get rid of the?
Because he had four sisters.
The boarding.
Yeah,
The boarding.
they needed the whole place for themselves. Yeah, there was no boarding.
So they closed the boarding bit, but they
kept the restaurant.
Kept the restaurant,
And
that
my friend Donnie, who I play golf with up here, I've lost him, and he came up in this area because we brought him as a ringer to play hockey, and he started to ski with us, and he learned to speak perfect English, and he had a good job because it was so bilingual. Before French Canadians were bilingual, you see. I think he sold General Motors the IBM system because he's the only French Canadian they could send to be trained in the States. Yeah.
So the Blue Moon, what era would you give it? Like a range in years roughly. If I was to look it up, you'd tell me
45.
45.
Yeah.
Till about when? It was there when you left. Still.
It was, yeah. Oh, yeah. That was where we didn't hang. Maryland's came after. We hung at the Blue Moon. Oh, yeah.
The Blue Moon.
Well, had slot machines, 5
So it was
cents.
a resto bar.
Yeah. Well, it was not a bar. No, it was for kids. It was
Good for
hot
the
dogs
kids,
and
good for the kids.
yeah,
and drinks
Donnie
for the
being
adults.
making the French fries and yeah.
What was that other place?
My brother introduced me to him. Said, "This is my friend Donnie." He was 8 years old.
What was the other place? There's another advertisement, Emily, that I told you that he said that he went for hot dogs.
Wolmer's?
No, McCoy's.
McCoy, yeah. Well, that's the Green Hornet.
Okay, so
McCoy's building was the Green Hornet.
yeah, there you go.
After. Yeah, McCoy's. Yeah. That was first, then the Green Hornet took it over and McCoy's closed.
What was it? So in your furthest back memory, McCoy's was always there.
Oh yeah. And it was the same as Brome's. Hot dogs
Were
and
these competing?
yeah.
So it just sounds amazing. So at this time, when you were a kid, let's say 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
You were going down there, and
Yeah.
on the corner
We'd swim right in front of there was a beautiful beach.
on the corner of
I think I have a picture of the
on the
beach.
corner of Milroy and Lakeshore.
Yeah.
You had either Blue Moon or Brome's, depending on the year,
Yeah.
and then you had McCoy's on the other side.
Yeah. You see that was all sand a little further over. And right in front was McCoy's and the Blue Moon or Brome's.
So you're saying it was a hot spot, but so they
Well,
would
that was that was the lakeshore. That was it.
so you're saying
People
this,
lived on Kings, Prince Edward, and Broadview, and they congregated there.
so are you saying that Milroy and the Lakeshore,
Was
would you consider that as the central
downtown,
yeah.
if there was.
So this is probably up until the country club burnt down. When it burnt
Yeah.
down, did it continue a little while longer?
Not really. The Blue Moon. That's when Donnie came, and no, it was never the same. It became more Edgewater and Maples. People came out to those places. Yeah,
So when your father stayed at Brahms,
it'd be in the
You said
20s.
28, I
Yeah.
and so he stayed there for a summer and then decided to move his
Well,
family
he'd come out on the weekends. He had a job. He had to work. He worked for the Bell Telephone. He was a lineman.
Where did he live at the time?
96 Prince Edward. He built a house up the road.
No, before he moved to Valwa.
He lived on Argyle Avenue.
Where's that?
Uh,
No, that's LaSalle.
Almost, no, Montreal. You've seen the guaranteed pure milk? Right there. Argyle.
So between there,
He had a friend.
there and Valwa, why did he choose Valwa to come to swim?
Well, he had a sister.
Valwa.
He had a sister came first, and she must have said what a nice place Montreal is. So he came, and it was after the war. There was nothing, London was big and rat infested, and came to the New World. Yeah, his sister.
But why Valwa? Why?
Because he
paddle
paddled. Because he
why
paddled.
for Valwa.
Because the boating club was there. Somebody must have told him.
There was no other place.
He never ever told me.
There was no other
Not
place.
that I would know.
Like Dorval didn't have, or
No,
the Grand Trunk.
no. There,
Wouldn't have
there was Verdun had some. That's your Grand Trunk.
Yeah.
But he must have known someone
Yeah.
he
said-
paddled with, because I have pictures of him paddling and 4 in a boat,
Oh yeah. And
And I think one of them was the police chief, Bill Gillette.
Oh really?
Yeah, way back.
Yeah.
I went to school with his son.
Oh, he was the police chief forever,
Yeah.
decades.
And then after him came Six Battery Legault. Remember John Legault?
No,
Well, he was chief too, but we called him Six. They didn't carry guns in those days.
it was Payman after him.
He
Right?
carried a 6-battery flashlight. So we called him Six Battery Legault.
What was these names back then? Nicknames for people.
Yeah.
So your father comes out and he's paddling, and
Yeah.
then he decides.
He's going to live here.
But
Because
you
the
said it was
train, you see, the train was the
But you
big
said it was a
thing.
summer home at first, though, right?
Yeah, on stilts,
So that it wasn't all year round. So he came.
And the builder was Ariat, who was a big builder at the time. You ever heard that name, Ariat?
How do you spell it?
I don't know.
Jason.
I was 5 houses from the school. 5 houses from the
What
school.
we're about to show you is an overhead shot of a 1947 picture.
This is 47. So that's the school right here,
Yeah.
if you can orientate. And this is the creek here.
Okay.
So whereabouts?
That's the playground, which is now a building. I think it's
Yeah,
a
it's a
kids'
daycare.
yeah. And I'm 5 houses up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 houses.
They had baseball diamonds here.
No,
That's a
the
baseball
school just had a nice playground. That's how I became very athletic. At recess, we'd play touch football. So I learned how to dodge,
field. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We weren't very worldly people, We didn't have TV like you have today and
Yeah.
the news. And, we lived in our own community. We had baseball, best football. I played for Lakeshore Flyers. And I played junior and senior. These were well run in Valwa Park baseball teams. Fastball, not baseball, fastball.
What's the difference? The rules are
They
different.
they swing their arm more. If you watch
But
Burlington,
underhand.
underhand, yeah. Yeah.
How did you
It was
get
a
into
great
sports?
community to grow up in.
But your dad was a sports guy, eh?
He was a soccer player, yeah. Because where he came from, yeah.
But he organized a lot of sport in Valley.
Oh, yeah. He would
Because-
take me to a soccer game at Canadian Vickers down the East End. Yeah.
So Jack
And
Beaumont, who grew up in the veteran homes, he's maybe a little over 10 years younger than you. He remembers your father,
Yeah.
Scotty Gordon.
Yeah. Oh,
Because
geez.
he
If
used
you
to-
said Scotty Gordon, you knew him. Yeah.
Okay, so what is that about? Because what was he like? What was his role in the community in Vawa at that time?
Very honest. Straight arrow. Whew.
But he organized the boxing.
Yeah. But
I
that
have a
wasn't.
thing from boxing in 1949.
I'd like to give you the name of the guy. He lived just over the bridge at the creek, right in that house there. The girl in that house was Miss Canada, Kathleen.
McDonald.
Yeah. Well, the guy that took over that house was a real boxer. I mean, a world-class boxer, and he had this club in the tennis club, in the tennis in that building that was the first library. That's where we boxed. That's where we started. And he brought kids from Point St. Charles who were and we'd hammer them. I told me to back off one time. Yeah, there were 3 rounds, eh? And I had a guy going good, and he told me to back off. So I backed off, and he hit me with a haymaker. I went down.
So did Reverend Machen ever box?
Yeah, I would hammer him, sure. And the upstairs of our house was never finished until after the war. My father had the money because they paid him. He was an overage soldier. So they asked him, because he had a trade in the Bell telephone, he actually put the wire across to stop the submarines coming in the Gulf of St. Lawrence, because the submarines were coming down. And if a ship broke down, I had an uncle that went out one night with his son and 5 crew, never seen again. He played for, his son's son played for Quebec Nordiques, Jimmy Mann.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Here it says one of the feature bouts of the evening should be in the 110-pound class. 118-pound class.
Yeah.
With young Bill Gordon of Valwa tangling with Doug Allen.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have known the guy's name.
It didn't matter.
Yeah. But that's the guy who gave me the haymaker. Yeah, because that's the only
This is
time
49.
Yeah.
So it says Valwa Parks and Playground Association.
Oh, we had a beautiful boxing ring. And
It says sponsoring a 9-bout boxing card tonight at 8:30 at Valwa Park.
yeah, I remember it
Posse
well.
bunch of fighters are under the guidance of Scotty Bowman. Scotty Bowman.
Scotty
Gordon, with their opponents being members of the St. Paul's Boys Club,
Which was Griffintown.
Griffintown.
Yeah. Because that's where the good fighters were. But
And here's I'll just show them this. So this is 1949. There's the ad for that.
yeah, see, I never even knew there was such an ad.
Yeah, and
We
there
were
was-
just kids.
Also, it was featured in the Gazette as well.
Yeah.
So do you remember the Embergs?
Oh, yeah.
Who were they?
Eddie Emberg was my coach all through hockey. Eddie, yeah. Not Eddie. Eddie played for Canadians, I think. Yeah.
Was it the Senators?
It was his brother. No, Eddie Emberg played for Canadians, and I think he got a goal the first game, and they said, "You're too small." Yeah. Eddie Emberg,
Were
yeah.
there farm teams at that time?
Eh?
Farm teams at that time for the Canadians?
It's on loud.
There were farm teams, but I couldn't name.
You said it's loud?
It's on loud.
Okay.
So what we're about to show you is a interview of Herb Enberg.
Oh, Herbie, yeah, Herbie was my coach. Bantam, Pee Wee, and we played Beaconsfield and Bora Pear and all along the lakeshore. Yeah.
Well, I believe that 2 nights a week they had a show, moving pictures and talkies, and 2 nights a week there were dancing. It was very, very late, a very
Yeah, that's
large
Herbie.
dance
Yeah,
floor. The galleries
I know him
right
well.
around the
Big time
outside
coach.
of the building.
Hockey,
People just went
baseball,
there in a
everything.
warm night and sit down and go
But
inside and
see,
dance
his generation would
to a
be the
live
country
band.
club. He would have gone to dances there.
Refreshments served to them inside with tables, individual tables, and for the other evenings, they would take the tables away and put the chairs up for the show.
The movie?
Movies. Very popular performer at that time was Shirley Temple. Every time they had a Shirley Temple picture in there,
I saw it.
couldn't get a seat.
Yeah.
Mr. Herbert Emberg was part of the Valois Bantam hockey team. He is seen here, second from the right.
There were teams competing against each other, like, for instance, Lakeside had a team, Point Claire had a team, Valois had a team, Cedar Park had a team. The different localities within the city of Point Claire had a
He was our coach.
hockey team.
Mr.
That's it. So there's one article where he was he a tough guy?
Not really. No, he's just a regular guy. I'd say more the other way than tough. Yeah.
So how did Bob Burney fit in with hockey? With
He just showed up in a rink one day and said, "We're going to build you a rink," and we laughed at him. Yeah, we would be maybe 9, 10 years old, and he would be about 17. You see.
What was the ratio between when you were a kid skating on an actual man-made rink versus going out into the bay?
I don't get what you mean.
When you were playing hockey?
Yeah, we would play in the bay, but it was very seldom because it wasn't often that it would freeze over. It was spring usually, and we'd play right across the bay.
So you did skate across the bay?
Oh yeah,
but it wasn't.
but it wasn't very often.
Because the ice.
And then
wasn't
there
that
was the guy Legault cutting his ice out there too, so he got in our way.
good? Oh right,
Yeah,
that's true.
they used to cut the ice in the ice house and where the bowling alley is now.
So where the bowling alley is now, that's the footprint of where the ice house was.
Yeah, it was a big building.
And it burned. That's the one that burnt down.
Yeah.
And you worked there.
No, I delivered ice there. I delivered ice with his son.
You'd go
Paul
and pick up-
Jr..
You'd pick up the ice.
Pick up the ice with a
blocks?
Diamond T truck and bring it to put it in the fridge and yeah.
So you covered Valois.
Yeah, just Prince Edward Kings. Yeah.
Explain this experience to me as if I have no idea what you're talking about. I've only seen fridges that plug in. Explain this to
It
me.
was called an ice box. It wasn't even a fridge. It was just open at the top, and you put the block in, and everything was under. So I guess cold must go down, not up. Yeah.
So you would have to go in with him with the ice picks, and you'd carry it in.
Carry a block, but that square, 25 cents a block or something, and it would last 4 or 5 days. Yeah.
So these blocks of ice were pulled out of the bay,
Yeah.
and it
Put
was
in the ice house.
insulated. How?
It wasn't. I don't know if it was insulated even.
How
Well, it
would
was
they-
there. Stayed there all summer.
How
Yeah.
would it stay all summer? On a day like today.
There was so much ice in there. Oh.
So it would just lower the temperature of the
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
whole interior of the building.
I was too young to know about insulation or anything like that. All I know is it was this giant building.
Was that one of your first jobs?
No, I guess a milkman.
You were a
There was
milkman.
Elmer's Dairy. There was a guy, Harry. Don't know his last name. Worked for Elmer's in Montreal West, and we would deliver milk with him. And then Point Claire Farm, Mr. Tomlinson. In fact, it's still there.
The house is still there.
And behind, I look often, and they were the barns back there. Yeah,
Did he sell that to Legault?
I couldn't tell you.
William Legault?
I wouldn't know. We bought from both. First we bought Point Claire Farm, and then we went to Elmhurst, and then what's the big milk bottle? We had
You
maybe
just said it before.
3 or 4 different.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, guaranteed. Yeah,
So this is before seal test and any of that stuff.
yeah,
And Quebon, whatever
Yeah.
it's called now. but Point Claire Farm would have been the only local dairy farm.
Yeah. Yeah.
On the
And
lakeshore?
my friend worked for them, his father, Mr. Tomlinson. And Richie Tomlinson was the best athlete in the lakeshore. But he got mixed up with girls and got all screwed up, and he ended up in the States playing for four-man baseball. And I hear he passed away. Yeah.
I never heard of that before.
Yeah. Richie Tomlinson, just mention that name. Best athlete ever to come out of the lakeshore. He played for Steinberg's, and that was a big operation. That was
He's your generation? Your
yeah,
age?
yeah. He's my age. He would have been my age. Yeah, Richie
Was
Tomlinson.
it professional, that four-person baseball?
Oh yeah, he
Was
went
professional.
He could have made the Brooklyn Dodgers. This guy.
The Brooklyn Dodgers.
Yeah,
So okay, so today I go to Vallow Park, and it's what's big now is soccer, right? Soccer is all the craze because now, especially, there's indoor soccer, so the kids are playing all throughout the winter now.
yeah.
And then summertime, a lot of the parks are designed for soccer fields. So today, someone goes to Vallow Park, there's a series of soccer fields, but it wasn't always like that, right?
No.
Where the soccer fields are today was originally
Football.
football.
Yeah.
So in my
Yeah, Canadian football because it was four downs. It wasn't American football.
no, it was what was it? The Quebec Rugby.
Yeah.
What was the full name?
QRFU,
Quebec Rugby
Football Union.
Football Union.
Yeah.
And it was like that until, I guess, the late 50s when they changed it to the CFL. 58, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so explain, because football is very foreign, locally, very foreign. It's not that big anymore. But in your time,
Oh
football.
yeah. Verdun, NDG.
Okay, so
All these professional guys in the West came from NDG.
explain the Lakeshore Flyers to me.
Well, the Lakeshore Flyers, I think, if it hadn't have been for the Maples, because that's where they hung out, we practiced every day. So most of them came from NDG, because that was the hotbed. Some came from Verdun, but and that's how they picked Vallow Park, I can't tell you. Why didn't they pick Trenham Park? I can't tell you that. But Bill Davies was the coach, and most of the good players came from NDG. I was one of the few Lakeshore players. There was Lorne Linden, myself, Russ Haynes made the big time. He's since passed away, yeah. He lived up the road from me, Russell Haynes. Mo Martin, Harry Chagru, they all played Calgary, Edmonton, and they all came here. That's why I came here to ski. They're all gone.
What was the league called that they would have played in? What would that league have been called? The Lakeshore Flyers.
I don't know, but it was Ottawa was in it, Peterborough.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
And so this team wasn't necessarily a Valwa team.
No.
It was just a team that they called Lakeshore Flyers.
At one time, I think I was the only Valwa person on the team.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
No kidding.
It started by a guy, he was in the Navy, I think. His name was Cope, and he lived in Cedar Park. He had a good-looking daughter, Pam Cope. I went to school with her.
Well, let's make sure that that's on record.
Well, Cope started with a few Lakeshore guys like Bubsy Parsons,
Yeah.
Babe Parsons. These names you might have heard before. A few guys worked for the Bell Telephone, the Hydro. In fact, when I opened my business, I didn't have Hydro. But I played football with a guy that worked for Hydro, lived in Cedar Park. I can't think of his name. But he got me the Hydro. I saw him working on the lines out in front. I said, I have no power. He looked after it.
He threw you
When I
a line.
opened that brand new building, $1 million. I had no electric, no power.
Where was that building? Not
Cavendish and Saint Jacques, right on the
yeah.
corner.
Oh, really? And he threw you a line.
Yeah. I'll come up with his name.
Okay, so
But these were good football players, and this guy Cope started this team, and then it evolved into more coming from NDG.
I'm
Yeah.
speculating. This might not be correct, but I'm speculating that because he was from the Lakeshore
Yeah.
and he saw that teams existed outside, he thought, and there was a nice space in Vawa Park.
Yeah.
He thought, since I'm flipping the bill, I'm calling it Lakeshore Flyers. Where are we going to get these players from? And then he recruits players from NDG.
See, I was quite young at the time, so
It was 46 or
Yeah,
40, 47 was the first year. 47 or 48,
Yeah.
I think, was the.
but it was well received by the community. It was, you get 1,500 people out there to watch a game.
So you know where the pool is, right? In
Yeah.
Vawa Park.
Yeah.
Is that where the stands would have been on that side of the field? The grandstands would have been on that side.
The pool is here, and the football here is here. It's still there, the football field.
It's just all divided into.
This is a picture of a picture of Vallow Park.
Okay, so this is. So mind you, I think this is winter time. This is before. So the pool is here. It's not there yet because this is 47. This is Belmont right here.
Yeah.
And you see this is Donegany down here. So
It was
there's
a way
little
down
rink
at-
right here.
Yeah, well, that's the rink.
That's where they would put
Yeah,
the rink.
that
Is that
was-
the rink that Bob Burney built?
No, Bob Burney Bob Burney didn't build anything. He built the arena. He took his holidays and went all over North America, and he found this building in Indianapolis, and he copied it, and that's
So
Bob
when
Burney
he told
Arena.
you guys he was going to build you a rink,
It was on the Valwa rink at Donegany.
oh,
Outdoor rink. He came with a friend,
yeah.
and I remember the
But
day
then
it was
he
a
only-
Sunday.
He only built it 20 years later.
Oh yeah, well, he told us one day we're going to build you a rink. We,
I know, but you
we laughed at him.
We thought, when, in 2 years?
Yeah.
Next year?
No, we didn't even. Didn't we were too young to even register.
Because the arena
we
was-
forgot about the next day. The only time I remembered is when he built the rink.
But you were long gone at that.
Yeah, 20, 30 years after. Yeah,
But he wasn't wrong. He
No.
just wasn't specific about when.
but I remember laughing at him. Yeah,
So you're like, I thought you were going to build it for us kids. Okay,
and the
so,
guy who used to look after the rink was the son of the guy who looked after Valwa School. The cleaning of the school.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Bill Kenton. And he played big time hockey because he would come out with pants on that were professional, you know.
But this is the rink. So if you were to play against, let's say, Beaconsfield or
It was on that
Montclair,
rink down
It
there,
was on that rink right there.
down by Donegany, and the shack was right next to it. It was a shack. And that's where the football team changed, in that shack.
Oh, yeah.
Cold showers. It was rough.
And so I guess this is probably just before they created the football field, because you can't see anything, but it must have been just all right here.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. It's
So you're
right. It
saying
goes
that-
right up to the school.
So you're saying the stands would have been
Well, there weren't many stands.
no, eh?
No, it was more on the Broadview side, the stands, if there were, maybe 3 layers, but not
On the
not many.
Broadview side.
Yeah.
Were there was there refreshments and all that kind of thing?
No, it was
None of that, eh?
the football game. That was it.
Because I spoke to people.
That's
later
why they
on-
went to the Maples, you see, after.
I spoke to people later on in the later 50s, and they said at that point there were kind of food trucks that would come around.
Yeah,
and
but see,
hot
I
dogs
wasn't
and stuff
there,
like
but
that.
then I was too busy trying to make a living, you know.
Okay, so you're how old when you played for the juniors, the Lakeshore junior team?
I would be,
Would have been classified as junior at that time.
yeah, I can't really tell you.
A teenager.
But we used to go in to play NDG and Verdun, and a couple of the coaches would come to these games, and I guess they saw something in me, and that's how I got up there.
Okay, what team was that?
That was the Flyer junior team.
Flyer junior team.
Yeah.
But was it treated as a farm team to the senior team?
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
you would get plucked out of the juniors and put up in the
but
seniors.
yeah.
Okay.
And what was it like to play for the Flyers, the senior team?
Well, I didn't last very long. I got hurt in Ottawa, and I spent the time. I had a concussion, which they didn't know what it was in those days, and I might have played 5 games, but I did not play. That was the year they won the Dominion of Canada Championship, and I was in the stands at Molson Stadium.
53.
I didn't play. Yeah,
53.
yeah. somewhere around there.
The only time they won.
Yeah, the Dominion of Canada Championship. Dominion of Canada.
So this is So in 19.
That's Herb. That's after me. You
So
see.
in 48
Yeah.
was
Herb Trawick took over, and the Alouettes sort of had it as a farm team.
what's interesting is Jackie Robinson came to Montreal in 48 to play for the Royals, right? But the same year, Herb came in just a few months later and played for the Alouettes.
Yeah.
And apparently he's the first
Black guy.
to play for
He
for
was
the league,
very popular. Yeah.
right? But he doesn't get as much play because he didn't play, in the American League, so not as many people knew about him.
See, and Bill Davies, who was the coach when I was there, played for the MAA. It was called the MAA then in Westmount. I remember going to the MAA grounds. It's now Westmount.
Wilson Park.
Yeah, now it's now Westmount High there.
What's MAA? Another
That
football
was
league?
that was before the Alouettes. Yeah,
How
that
many
was
football leagues were there?
well. The Alouettes. It became the Alouettes. Yeah, Bill Davies played for them. You see.
Before it was, but that was
Yeah.
the QRF. What was it called again? The Quebec Rugby.
No, that was in my day. The Quebec Rugby Football Union, QRFU.
And before that, it was called the MAA.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
And the games were played in Westmount Park.
No kidding.
Yeah,
It wasn't a stadium or anything.
sort of.
Yeah.
It had good stands and
Yeah.
almost like Verdun Stadium, very similar.
What made you try out for the Flyers?
I didn't try out for them. They brought me up from the junior. I remember
No,
playing.
but I mean the juniors. What made you play for the juniors?
I was very fast.
But you had such a
Touch football
successful...
from the little school yard.
Yeah.
I could dodge anything. In fact, I played without cleats. And they made a ruling you had to have cleats. I could dive 40 feet. You know what I mean? Yeah.
This is the field.
I had no
behind-
fear.
The field next to the school that I
Yeah.
showed you in that
We
other
played
picture.
touch football there every lunch hour, every recess. So I'd become very agile on my feet. And I was a small guy. I wasn't a big guy.
So they plucked you. up
Yeah.
to play
I
for
played
the-
at Verdun one day, and half the field there was a tennis court, was stone. And I was fearless. I was too young to know any better.
So at that time, you wouldn't have said, "No, I'm having a pretty successful run at boxing. I'm gonna."
No,
pursue
no,
that."
boxing was nothing. That was just a run of the mill thing, This guy, Kathleen McDonald's house, he lived there, and if you had his name, he was a big fighter. This guy, and he had all us guys in Russell Haynes and Bill Gordon and Gordy Newhook, and then he invited all the guys from Griffintown, and we beat the shit out of them.
So that, what was it like at that time? If VAWA did well, was there a very tight VAWA community that if one of the VAWA guys did good at that, then it would be VAWA would know about it? You know what I mean? Like, was it
There was no prestige.
like VAWA pride or something like
No,
that?
not that I would ever remember.
To say that you were from VAWA, it didn't mean anything at that time?
No.
Is that unique to you, you think?
I could
because
get
of
you a
how
nice
are?
picture of me with a football outfit on.
What about being in Valwa School? Was there some pride in Valwa School when you went to?
Not really. It was a very quiet community, The people were like my father, low key, Masons.
What does that mean when you say Masons?
Um,
For someone who's never heard of this before, what does that mean, Masons?
these are people that had a local club, call it, and they went every Friday night and had their meeting in the United Church, and they wore a nice tuxedo. I remember my father every Friday night in that tuxedo. He couldn't wait to get to, and they would have a dinner. And, well, you see the Shriners Hospital.
Yeah.
They're Masons. You see, that's just another level of a Mason. Yeah.
What did it provide to your dad to be a Mason? What did that mean?
Good people.
Is it just
Good,
community?
honest people.
Is it just community, or was there something else?
It's worldwide. He took me to the first Windsor Castle the number one lodge is in Windsor Castle, outside of Windsor Castle. He took the family one time to see the Gordon gravestone and blah, 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 show us where he came from. And he had a grade 7 education. He was well educated, but grade 7 education in Scotland was like a university graduate. But he never, I remember going to grade 1 and Miss Stout putting up, we had cards, I still don't know. What is 5 and 4 is 9, yeah. Yeah, the kids, 9. The parents must have had these kids before going to school, brought them to a level. Yeah. I was never brought to that level. I was never a good student. I got to grade 9, but then at grade 9, I remember the teacher saying to me, "You're wasting your time, Bill." So I got a job. My first job, marking boards in a stockbroker's office, $37 a week. And it was an old firm. And by the time I turned around, 8 years had gone by, and I was the floor trader in the Montreal Stock Exchange. I mean, this is like being president of the Royal Bank. This was the best job in the place. And I worked on an arbitrage wire because my boss, James B. Weir, he was Brigadier James B. Weir. He had so much money that he owned a brokerage office in Toronto and one in Montreal. And we would buy Bell here at 25, sell it in Toronto at 25 and an eighth. And in those days, you weren't allowed a telephone. It was all telegraphy, So in the office was a Jewish guy, Mo Ruttenberg, and he took me under his wing and taught me all about how to make money. So one day I woke up and said, everybody buying stock owns a business. So I opened a little gas station, 2-bay gas station. The rest is history. It was the Sunoco gas station on the corner of Cavendish and St. Jacques, which is still there today. And Mr. Steinberg Stores, was a customer. How the hell he became a customer, I don't know. Anyway, he said, if you look after my fleet of cars, I'll give you pinky stamps. We sold gas like it was coming out of 40.9. Imagine, 40.9.
But did you all know each other? 4 streets? You all must have
Oh,
known
yeah.
each other.
Well,
because of one school.
You point to somebody here, I'll tell you their name. What, there 40 kids there?
Yeah.
That's grade 1 and 2. Point to one and I'll give you her name.
There you go. Miss Plaid. Pamela Plaid. What was her name?
Yeah, she lived on Queen's Road, right on the hill. It was a toboggan hill there. I forget her name. I didn't have any girlfriends there.
Someone from Cedar Park said that she would go and hang out with the Valois. And so she said that she would hang out with the Valois kids because they were the bad kids. She liked hanging out with the bad kids. Do you think the Valois kids had a different reputation than the Cedar Park kids?
Not that I would know. I'd never heard that.
No?
No. The girls were all nice people. They were all nice. It was a nice community. Well, you can see it there. But look at the clothes on the kids.
But then when the veteran area opened up.
Yeah. I delivered the Lakeshore News up there.
But now we have a different kind of community, right? Because they were all vets centralized in a small area.
But they stayed to themselves.
Yeah?
Yeah, they didn't mix with the Valois crowd. Some of the men did. They were baseball coaches, and one was a football coach. We used to call one guy, just because you got a head like a hubcap doesn't mean to say you're a big wheel. What was his name? Yeah. If I said his name, you would know it. Yeah.
You had mentioned you had, before working in the stock exchange, you had many little jobs around Valois. Can you maybe list some
I
of
used to
them?
work for a guy by the name of McFarlane. He built houses a little further up Prince Edward. And I used to carry the bricks and 5 cents an hour, and the wife would bring hot chocolate, and built a few houses. Yeah.
And what are the other ones you've mentioned? You can repeat the same jobs, but if you can remember it.
Then after that, most of the jobs were the milkman, the iceman. Never the bread man, I don't think. Strand.
How did you get the
We
job?
had a bread
You
man.
almost had a perfect trifecta there.
Hey,
How did you get the job with the Lakeshore News?
that's a good question. I
it was
did the
Friedman,
Star Weekly up in the Heights.
Oh yeah.
That was a tough job
Why?
because it was a thick paper. That was like the Montreal Star, but the weekend version of it, all in color, you know. Star Weekly, it was called.
Did they? Was it the Star that had a morning and an afternoon?
The Star only had one at night.
One at
I
night?
never had the Star. I think I knew the publisher, Friedman.
Friedman.
Yeah,
So Friedman. So
he was the original Lakeshore News. It was a small paper about that big. You know, maybe 6 pages, but it was only that big.
well, it was called the Lakeshore Press in the 30s up until maybe 40.
Maybe he bought it from somebody.
Yeah, because his name was Schmiel or something like that. Schmiel or something.
When you say the name, I know it.
It was Schmiel-ish. It was something in that area. And then there was maybe just a year that there was no Lakeshore News or no Lakeshore Press, and then Friedman bought it, I guess, off of him, and his place was in Cartier because he was a travel agent or something at the same time,
Could be his son, maybe.
and
He had a son was involved in it. Yeah.
and he also got married around that time, in the 40s.
And then something in Hudson, some paper in Hudson, and
Oh, we had another paper.
somebody got mysteriously killed at the big overpass at John Abbott
Over the highway?
to do with drugs and over the highway there. Yeah,
Yeah,
he was on a skidoo.
Skidoo.
Yeah,
Did you ever work in the restaurant industry? In
What-
the restaurant industry.
I washed glasses in the Edgewater because my friend went out with the boss's daughter, and he was a waiter, so he got me the job. So I bicycled all the way, from Valois, washing glasses.
What was the Edgewater like compared to
Oh,
the
tuxedo.
other places at the time?
That was high end.
Yeah.
The Maples never was high end. There was the beer garden next to it, but if you said his name, I would remember.
they have that-
Oh, it had a beautiful beach.
Yeah.
You see, what people don't understand is when the seaway came in, they raised the water and covered all the beaches. But I remember swimming at the Maples, and it had lockers and a sandy beach. Yeah,
And the Edgewater had one as well? Edgewater?
they had a beach, yeah, but I never swam there. I swam more. My biggest swimming area later years was Pine Beach. Now, Pine Beach is from here to those trees you see way down there is filled in now. You came off the lakeshore and the beach was right there.
It was at the end of Pine Beach? That's where it was, I guess?
Yeah,
How high did the water rise when the seaway came in?
6 feet.
No.
Oh, yeah. Covered everything. Well, you can see it at Valois in front of Legault's grocery store. Every spring it floods over the Lakeshore Road there.
So
And it never did that in my day.
So let's say Milroy, where the country club was, we're talking about maybe 15 feet worth of
Oh, yeah.
beach,
Yeah.
and they would bring in the
I learned to
sand.
swim there. My mother, those days we had a bathing suit with straps on it, and she just said, let me go, swim. But it was such a shock, I guess I still remember it.
Yeah, well, you remember the country club. The country club burnt down in 42.
Yeah.
And you have
Oh, yeah.
memories of it.
Well, I used to dive off the back of it, climb way up there, and when it was closed, yeah.
And what about the, how did the water get dirty eventually?
Well, they used to dump the raw sewer into the lake. You would see where the birds would hang around, where the exit was, right out in the middle. We knew where it was.
But in the bay or further out?
Well, you know where the kids have their boating club today?
yeah.
Well, you see that building? That was the pump house.
And
That
they
cement
had,
thing.
And they had one that went It didn't even exceed the bay. It was still
No,
in
it
the
didn't
bay?
exceed the bay. No.
Really?
Yeah.
So, but why is it that we have beautiful stories from the early 1900s?
Well,
Up
because
until
there
the
wasn't
40s.
that much sewage.
So is this just a matter of
Yeah. It's
growth?
as it grew.
suburban growth?
Yeah, it killed the lake. You could throw it off the country club. You could throw a dime and see it at the bottom, 20 feet down. Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
remember when you first heard about polio?
Yeah.
What was that? Well,
In fact, in school, we had a doctor, Dr. Busby. He lived in Point Claire just before, what's the big building on the water? That was owned by a Scotsman, eh?
the big in Point Claire,
Yeah. What's that beautiful building? The nicest building on the lakeshore.
Chateau Saint Louis.
No. Stuart Hall.
Oh yeah.
That was a Scotsman who shipped dry goods here. Did you know that? That was a mansion. He built that mansion, and he was a dry goods, yeah. And then it went into the Catholic Church somehow, and the priest would be out playing hockey, and
Yeah. Well, the Priest Farm was right across.
yeah,
Right?
they called it Priest Farm. Yeah.
Yeah. You remember Priest Farm?
Do I ever? Because I got thrown off the bus, I had to walk to Cedar Park, cold of winter.
What do you mean you got thrown off?
Well, we were raising hell, and there was a teacher used to travel with us who lived in Valois. I can't think of her name. So she kicked us all off right on the hill there. So we had to walk to Cedar Park. Yeah.
Because that's where it would turn up, I guess.
Yeah.
Or no, it was just past.
In fact, Cedar Park School, the first year I went, we had an hour of exercise every morning. And then they made it 4 classrooms under Stockwell.
What was he, the principal?
Yeah.
He was the principal at that time.
Yeah. He used to get involved in hockey and football and everything with us. I tackled him one time by error. I thought he meant to tackle him, and I hammered him.
So Ivan,
He's laying on the ground.
Bill's,
He says, I'm not going to pass for sure.
Bill's son still lives in Cedar Park.
Yeah.
I went to high school with his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So Bill is Ivan's younger son. He had 2 sons.
Yeah.
I don't remember the older one's name. Anyways,
And Mr. Stockwell, he was the
superintendent.
head of the Beaconsfield Golf Club at one time, president. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think he also was a curling club as well.
Yeah, the curling club down by the
Yeah. But
Yeah.
where was it? Where do you remember it?
there.
It was.
We were in the paper. I remember that. We were the first curlers. Mr. Stockwell took us the first kid curlers, Yeah.
This is when the curling club was on the shore, or
Where
was
it is now.
or
Yeah.
where it is now,
Yeah. Yeah.
off Cartier.
Yeah. Still in the same place.
When
But the quarry there, that was a big thing, that quarry.
Which quarry?
On, well, you can still see part of it on one of the holes the first hole you hit from, that's all stone. You can see the
yeah,
part
it's a
of the
cliff.
wall. But on the other side of Cartier was the real pit.
So this is south. That's north. This is the 20, right?
It's all houses on it now.
The 20 and the
And
20 here.
the ventilators are there to let out the gas, eh?
Here's your golf course.
Yeah.
Is this the quarry right here?
Yeah.
It looks quite deep.
Well, like say the height we're looking at here, double,
Yeah.
maybe even triple in places.
But this is
it
not
was
the one.
big.
That's not the one where you said you would go swimming.
No, it was up further.
And then this is the park right here, I think.
But it was a giant quarry. DeVito was the guy.
Do you know what they were?
On Cedar Avenue, if you just go along the Lakeshore Road towards Montreal, those 3 or 4 nice homes, that was his family there. DeVito.
What was the quarry? This quarry, was it the same as the golf course quarry?
No,
Or
well,
was this
it's
a
just
newer-
one of the holes. I think it started on one of the holes of the golf course before the golf course.
Oh, I
and the
see.
golf course was on the other side of Cartier, but then the new quarry was on the other side of Cartier.
So this is a newer.
And it was massive. I mean, it was just the size of a football field.
And it's a newer quarry. Yeah, 'cause the other
And they
quarry-
dumped all the garbage there, and then they put a topping on it and ventilators and built homes. Now it's, Christ, there's 1,000 homes there, but the ventilators are still there if you go and look.
So there's two. So there was 2 dumps in Point Claire.
Yeah.
One that was
Yeah, the one that you talk about probably was more for our area, and that one was more for the western part.
And did you used to go there and shoot rats?
No, I worked there. I had a job there. I don't know how the hell I ever got it. I was driving a truck. I didn't even have a driver's license. I would drive the truck down and up with the dynamite and the man and
Where's the dynamite for?
they blast.
They were still blasting?
Oh yeah, yeah,
No kidding.
yeah.
So it was a quarry. So when you worked there, when are we talking roughly?
Well, I was just maybe 15 years old or something. I was just a kid.
mid 40s.
Yeah.
And they're still blasting, and they give the kid
The
job,
I
the
didn't know it
dynamite
was
job.
dynamite.
Because if something happens to the kid, they'll just find another kid.
Oh yeah.
There's no skills lost there.
And most of the men came from
my
Villemard. All
Villemard.
Yeah.
Why Villemard guys? Oh, because it was Italian.
yeah.
He bought his
DeVito
Italian.
was
So he
Italian.
bought his Italian Villemard guys.
Yeah.
And so
What about the dump at the crossing at St. John's and the 20, near the Point Claire Plaza?
you remember that one?
No, I knew it was a dump, that's all. Because I would go and shoot with my BB gun and shoot rats. But it was a skeet club. It was the Montreal Skeet Club.
So you said this to me before. That's exactly where the shopping center is now.
Yeah. It was the railway was a wooden crossing. I remember it was wood where the tracks were, so you could drive, it was I don't know, it wasn't
The St. John's level crossing you're talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
And so where the shopping center is,
That's where the garbage dump was, yeah.
and the
We skied there, you see, that's how I knew. It was the Brickyards, we call it. And that was a mysterious place, the Brickyards. The employees, and we heard there was a murder there and, things like that. But we skied there. We came all the way through the fields with my father. I might have shown you a picture, eh?
yeah,
Yeah.
we have the picture. So the people who worked there, it was weird. It was like a little community.
It was a community for sure.
little
And
secret community.
where the hell they came from, I don't know.
So the skeet shooting was where the shopping center is.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting.
from the tracks up. Yeah,
From the tracks up.
yeah. And we'd go all the way over there. I had a BB gun. I see where I grew up on Prince Edward, at the top of Broadview, there was what we called the 12 woods. There was 12 sections of woods. The 12 woods, we called them.
Going north.
And I mean, it was,
North-south.
yeah,
I have a photo of
right up to St. Genevieve, yeah.
Who the heck counted 12?
Yeah, and the farms ran up to them.
Did
Did
you have a...
Miss Legault's farm,
Yeah.
as you say, Legault is everywhere.
Yeah.
You know the Sunoco on the corner of Source and Hymas?
Hymas? Yeah.
There was a Sunoco there. Now it's Ultramar.
Yeah. Yeah, and here you can clearly see, so here you have your Valwa right here.
Yeah,
That's your veterans there.
yeah,
Okay, and I think your woods are,
yeah,
this is
right
them.
here. 12 woods, right up to St. Genevieve. And at the corner of, I guess it's Hymas, and one of the woods was a sugar camp.
In the woods?
In the woods, yeah. I have a picture of my brother, and myself and my father with our 22 guns walking through the fence, and the sugar camp's there. I have a picture.
And this is,
After the war.
is this a privately owned
Yeah.
guy, or was it a guy like the sugaring off that would, like today?
Oh,
you
would it be a
invite people?
private guy?
Okay, so this is a
Yeah.
private property
Yeah.
thing, and you would go and
Yeah,
take the maple syrup.
yeah.
Okay, so there was a little bit of illegal
Hymas.
activity happening.
Yeah, Hymas and, well, she knows the 12 woods. We called them the 12 woods.
And so
And Miss Legault's farm, which was right on Hymas, and used to deliver the carrots and potatoes and everything during the winter in warm sand, so they wouldn't freeze. Yeah, she was very popular, Miss Legault.
another Lego.
Yeah, there were Legos on that side too. I remember.
Yeah, well, it's where that gas station is, right on the corner now, and I think there's a Lafleur's on the other corner.
Yeah.
That was her farm.
And north
I used to walk all the way over there and get pussy willows because there was a creek there with pussy willows.
How dangerous were the level crossings?
Dangerous. We used to hang on the cars there. They'd slow down to cross, grab on the back of cars. That was our Friday night fun.
Hold on a second. You said dangerous,
Yeah.
and you followed that with.
Didn't
It's
bother
almost
us.
like you made it.
Oh, there was every year there was 2 or 3 big accidents. Yeah. Yeah.
You said that when your father first built the house, that it was a summer house.
Yeah. And it was on
And then he
pillars.
winterized it afterwards.
Yeah, and Mr. Ariat was the contractor, and then he put a front porch on it. It was all open, and it was glassed in, you see.
But so then was it a summer cottage at first?
It was a house. I wouldn't call it a summer
But
cottage.
you weren't there in the winter because it wasn't winterized.
Oh, yeah, it was. Sure. No, when he built it, he lived in it. Yeah.
So then he froze his ass off in the winter and then decided to winterize it some years later?
I don't think he would have froze. It was wood stove, but then it became oil, and when the basement was put in, it became an oil furnace.
So
Yeah.
what does it mean to winterize?
And my mother almost killed us. She used to go to her mother's every Wednesday and take the midnight train home. And instead of turning the oil furnace, she thought she was turning it down because it had warmed up that evening. She turned it the other way up.
She was tired.
And we woke up with black marks in our nose, and the house was all black. Yeah, she goddamn near killed us. Yeah. She turned it the wrong way, and the furnace didn't light. It didn't burn the oil, so it just made smoke. Had to paint the whole house, yeah.
What do you remember it always being winterized and he just told you that it was
No, it was always winterized as far as I know. Nothing changed to the actual home other than the basement, and he put an attic. We didn't even have a bath.
and that helped with the
Yeah.
with the temperature of the house and the heat
Well, we went to oil. We went to oil, and
which helped to distribute the heat
Yeah.
around the house.
yeah, wood stove. But
As opposed to-
being young, I never felt the cold anyway, so it's not like now.
What do you mean by you didn't have a bath?
We didn't have a bath in the house. I was bathed in a metal tub in the kitchen. Pour the hot water from the stove, heat the stove water on the stove, and put it in, and yeah.
Did it ever?
You
get
might
a-
even have had secondhand water. I think my brother was in there first.
So, accounting how many jobs you had, before the age of, let's say, 15, you had 4 different jobs.
Yeah, at least.
Well, what was your drive? Why? I'm sure there weren't other.
It
kids
wasn't
your age
money,
doing that?
because I didn't make much money. I was in the way of these guys, I guess. Like the guy, he was a reporter for the Gazette, building the houses. How the hell I ended up carrying blocks for a foundation, but I did get money, and I had a bicycle.
That's 5 jobs, actually. So, which one was first out of the newspaper?
Oh, the newspaper was the first, yeah.
The Star.
No, it was the Star Weekly. It was Lakeshore News, then Star Weekly. I never delivered the Star.
Star Weekly is different than the Star. Montreal Star.
Yeah, it was a Toronto Star, it was called.
Oh.
Star Weekly.
Do you remember how much the paper would cost?
No, but it was heavy. And I did it up in the St. Louis and in there. Whew.
And so the next job after that would have been delivering ice and milk?
Yeah. Well, I got older. Yeah.
And then
I might even have taken a shot at the Strand comes to mind, the baker, but I don't think so. I know we bought Strand.
and then would be the building, helping with the carrying the bricks?
Yeah, I was a little older, yeah.
What would you do exactly? What would the job entail?
Carry the bricks from the street to the foundation, and then the cement guys would, because in those days there was no poured cement, it was all blocks.
Do you remember
They
what
were
street?
heavy, yeah.
Do you remember what street?
Queens Road, Queens and Belmont, that big house there, still there.
You built that?
Yeah, I helped build it. Mr. McFarland lived next door. There must be a McFarland around Valois now, still.
And then which came before, the Edgewater or the Dynamite?
Oh, the Dynamite, yeah. Yeah. And I caddied at, in fact, my son's accountant is the son of Bill Kerr, who I caddied for
Where?
in Beaconsfield.
Beaconsfield Golf Course.
Yeah. See, and I wasn't a cub or a scout. I was a Sea Scout. And, they built the new building at Edgewater there, that nice new, that was the Sea Scouts. We were taught to sail. And we sailed Sharpies and whalers. And we'd take the train all the way to Montreal to St. Andrews and St. Paul's Church, where our meetings were in the winter. In the summer, they had tents. We stayed out in those tents. It was great. I was a country kid, Yeah. I lived in the trees and did as I pleased. That's what I do now. I live in the trees and do as I please. And it's wonderful. And I had the best wife a guy could ever have. A great life, great kids. But I live alone now, and I'm happy. And my saying is, I live in the trees and do as I please. Quiet.
You remember when they were building the highway?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, they took away our hockey rink in Lakeside and went right through the goddamn hockey rink.
Yeah, that's where the clubhouse was, right?
Yeah.
And they would do the tombolas there.
Yeah.
It was like, and they did some.
That was a big thing in our day. There was all these little towns had a tombola. Yeah.
The names just sort of died, I guess.
Yeah.
The tombola.
Like the one you talked about in Point Claire, that was a big one.
So you do have a memory of the chateau being there, the Chateau Saint Louis.
I remember it coming down because of all the chalk. It was I guess the rooms were slats with gyprock, but not as gyprock as we know today. It was white chalk. That's how they made the walls. So I remember all this white chalk, It was just coming down when I was waking up,
They were tearing it down.
Yeah. I might have been 5, just before school age. Maybe older, because I would be alone and my parents wouldn't let me across the tracks until I was going to school.
And that's your only memory of the
Yeah.
chateau.
Yeah.
I think it was in ruin a little bit before that too. I don't think.
But
they were using
the building is in my mind, but I don't know if it's from a picture I've seen or whether.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now you said Valois is like.
It was a close-knit community, well respected by everybody. Now, outside of Valois, I don't know. But inside Valois, it was a respectable place to live a good life. Yeah. The way everybody should live. Food on the table, good job. Later years, we all had cars.
Did you see
There was never really, only after the war when the veterans built up there did anything alert us to expansion. No, there was never any big expansion. We saw a couple over on the eastern side, that area,
Strathmore.
and Parkdale on that Broadview, next to Broadview. Yeah,
post-war development?
yeah. And they used to still give the strap when I was going to school, eh? Johansson says, this hurts more than it hurts me. I think I got it once,
So the school is still there, right?
Yeah.
The building's still there, and it's the centennial this year.
Yeah,
that they
and it's
built.
just as nice as it was to us back then. The schools, even Cedar Park was nice.
Really? You really looked at Valois School and said this is a nice building?
Yeah, yeah. Couldn't believe how warm it was and cement and, it was nothing spectacular about it. It was kept well, It was a well-run operation, yeah.
So the Valois is older than the school, but what do you think it meant to Valois to have its own school?
Oh, I would be too young to know that.
Yeah?
Yeah. I've just
This thing.
always thought it was a nice building,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed going there. But I went home for lunch. I was 5 houses away. Beautiful. In the spring, we played Smokies on the snow.
What's that?
It was a colored marble, and you'd make a hole in the snow, and you'd If you sunk it, you kept a marble. Called Smokies. Yeah.
Jeez, how did you not sink it?
It was a big game back in our day.
Yeah.
In March, yeah.
Let's see.
I've had the best 10 years of my life. I should write a book from 80 to 90. Life is over for most people at that age. I rollerblade, I swim, I ski. There's nothing I don't do. And I feel better than I did when I was 50. Now, mind you, I lift weights every morning. And I think exercise is, if I was to put things in order, it would be exercise, rest. Food is at the bottom of the line. I cook for myself. Everything is steamed, but it's good food. I think what you're doing is good because people do look at it and it gives some background to where they do live. And that's important. Important for them, important for their kids. Bring their kids up in the same community. Too many people grow up in a community, leave, and they start all over again, you know.
Talk about these days.
Well, it's all part of the history of Canada, you know. It's the development of, you know, a lot of people are looking at it and saying your life was good back then, you know. Walk down Prince Edward in bare feet, you know. Swim in a pristine lake. Yeah.
Because now people would go there if they moved there and they don't know the history of what existed. That's the reason why the lakeshore exists, is because of the lakeshore, right?
Yeah.
But now going there now, you would never think that because it's just...
Well, why is it expanding? It's expanding so fast they can't control it. It's because people know it's a good place to live. It's a good place to bring up your children.